All right, peace, everybody that's here. This is Moorish America. First, before we get started with this broadcast, I rise giving the highest of praise to the Most High Father God Allah. I extend honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality, and also extend honors to everything Moorish, to all of you good people watching this, regardless of ethnicity and all that stuff. Just make sure you hit the like and share button. Help spread this, get this information out here. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody, whatever time you're watching this. You're listening to the True and Living Light Bringer Moors in America. As always, I'm your brother Lloyd Douglas, also known as Sharif Ali. Here we are uncovering and bringing glorious light to all issues pertinent to the Moorish American paradigm, because that's what we do here on this podcast known as Moors in America. That's what we do. And so today, well, hopefully everybody's having an amazing afternoon. But today we're going to be speaking about marriage, right? The podcast title is Love, Law, and Legacy, Moorish American Perspective on Marriage and Family. And it's really important to hear this from actual real life, real actual Moorish Americans that have actually been married, for a couple of years. And I think it's important to hear it from our perspective, from us, because nobody else can be experts on us. I was just watching this video. It's amazing. PBS just put out a video today on Islam, on African Americans that go into Islam in the 1920s in Chicago, right? And for those that know, that's the day after Prophet Noble Drew Ali's birthday. And I shared it without checking it out. I watched it. They didn't even mention the Prophet in the whole video. They didn't even mention the Prophet. They didn't mention the temple. And I'm just sharing this because we can't let other people tell our story. We can't let other people be the experts on us. Moorish Americans need to speak on who we are, what we stand on. We need to be able to counsel ourselves, counsel each other, mentor each other, because nobody else can do it and nobody else is going to do it properly. So, that's really why we're here. So we can talk to real live Moorish Americans and put this important topic in a proper perspective. So if you wouldn't mind, please share this broadcast, share it everywhere, make this go viral, right? Make this blow up. Let's do it. So we're going to go ahead and get things started. Don't go anywhere. But what you can do, though, you can go and grab some more people, bring some more people up in here, share this, and let's go ahead and get things started. Peace. All right, let's go ahead and start things off, man. We have everybody here. This is going to be amazing. So, yeah, Love, Law, and Legacy, Moorish American Perspective on Marriage and Family. And we have some esteemed guests here. We have the brother and sister, Aseer Tears and Celina Cordoba L. We have Devonte and Destiny Bennett Bey. We have our brother, Sheikh Kerry Allende L. And also his wife, Ayres. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. And then also we have our brother who's been on here before, brother Akil, also known as Kill Ripkin, and Amor L. Man, this is just going to be powerful and amazing. And really just it's an honor to have you all on here. Now, if you guys don't mind, I would like to just briefly just go through an intro just on everybody here, and then feel free to correct me or add anything that I'm leaving out. But just with the brother and sister Cordoba L. Both are esteemed scholars and cultural leaders, right? They're both dedicated to spiritual upliftment and education of Moorish Americans. Aseer is a renowned lecturer, and historian, and also an author, right? And an artist. and he's known for his profound teachings on Moorish heritage. And then Celina's got all of those incredible creams and body butters for the people. This all natural, real deal, natural products that's good for the family, for everybody to use. And we have all the links in here for everyone that's on here. But make sure you go to those websites and check them out. So they're using their talents to inspire and empower communities through music and holistic wellness, which is powerful. We have also the brother and sister Bennett Bey, influential Moorish American leaders and entrepreneurs committed to community upliftment and community empowerment, really speaking and teaching about family and dedication to family, faith, and holistic living. Powerful people. And also the brother and sister Kill and Amor L. And also just with that brother Kill Ripken, one of the hottest MCs out there, and he's unapologetically Moorish, which I really champion that, because it's amazing to have real live Moorish Americans that are out there that aren't like aren't bending or breaking to any other standards that anyone else said no that anyone else has set for us. No, they're coming and representing Moorish Americans for real in a way that we could be proud and that we could really get behind and support. So I appreciate that brother, and also his wife. They're also doing great work, raising their families, Moorish American, strong, proud. And also want to give a shout out to our brother Kerry and Ayres Allende L, who will be on here shortly. Another distinguished Moorish American couple dedicated to preserving and advancing Moorish heritage and teachings. Brother Kerry is, in addition to being a sheik in the Moorish Science Temple of America, he's also an accomplished author. This brother has a ton of books out here, right? Ton of Moorish literature out here, and he's, powerful, incredible information, and they're doing great work, in addition to raising their family as Moorish Americans, but doing great work to help do that work in uplifting fallen humanity. So definitely, a powerful group of people we have here. I'm also here with my wife, sister Drewcilla Douglas L, and we're doing the work in the community as well as raising our family. So this is really what this is going to be about, real life, how we're doing it in Babylon, whatever people want to call this. We're doing it in the real world is basically what I'm trying to say. So before I say anything else, I just want to go ahead and yield the floor to you all. If we could just go in order that you see on the screen, the Cordoba L's, Bennett Bey's, and then brother Akil and Amor L. Please share more about you. Anything that I left out, did not mention, please feel free to speak and share that with the family. And let's just go ahead and turn it over to Aseer and Celina.
Okay. Good evening.
Peace, everybody. Peace to all the couples that are on. Love and light to everybody. Honestly, all of the Moors tuned in.
Peace.
Also, honest to the prophet whose birthday was yesterday. So definitely honest to that. Honest to the temples. Honest to those outside of the temples. People, anybody that's tuning in. Definitely thank you guys for having us. And yeah, we've been together for what, 20 plus?
25 years.
About 25 years.
2001. So 2000, yeah. 2001.
Yeah, so
it's like 24 years, 20
yeah.
years.
So, we've been around for a while to see a lot of things become what they are. And I definitely will say it's a lot better seeing and witnessing and experiencing things with somebody that is going to be in your corner, more so than always having to go it alone, which a lot of us before we get into relationships are alone, However, being alone doesn't mean lonely, and being alone doesn't mean that you don't necessarily want to have companionship. But with that companionship comes like a lot of like trial and error, growing, or all of the things that we may have not witnessed our parents, because a lot of our parents were divorced and stuff coming up, but from what we saw on TV and stuff like that, like we all have an idea of what we understood family to be as to how it was marketed to us. And I will say that being on the same page, both culturally, nationally, ethnically, you know what I'm saying, is very important in a sense that it helped kind of shape how we deal with each other, have dealt with each other over the years individually as well as collectively, and then how we applied that to raising the children. So, you know, I definitely we met at a time where, you know, we had just, or I had just really come into Moorish science as a viable lifestyle option, and then meeting somebody who had the same heritage, but even more so understood the context of that today, really helped kind of solidify that we kind of saw the world similarly. And in that, you know, it's been on ever since. And then having a marriage or a relationship that's also backed up by not just mutual, you know, adoration or respect, but also having like a purpose, like knowing, okay, I don't have to worry about certain things because culturally I know that's not what we really deal with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's almost a security of not even having to worry about or deal with some of the things, some of the horror stories that I see people deal with, because the person I'm with wouldn't lower herself to that position. You know what I'm saying? Not even just because of her being with me, because that's not the person that she is with or without me. You know what I mean? So in that, it kind of alleviates a lot of the stress that we as men who are fathers and who are striving to be about the things we say we about. It alleviates, at least I know when I'm home, I don't got to deal with a lot of the stuff that other people have to deal with, unfortunately, who may be in a relationship where they may be at odds and not even realize it, because this person was raised Catholic, this person was raised whatever. Like, we was both raised in Brooklyn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we both remember the world or the timeline before this one. You know what I mean? So there's a consistency that is allowed to become other things because we allow each other the space, I think, to make mistakes and not necessarily hold grudges. Also, I think the key to a lot of relationships, long-term relationships, is laughter. Like, we just be laughing like all the time. Like, you just laugh. Like, the more you laugh, the more, because you know, you with somebody for so long, like you kind of know them, but at the same time they can do something that is so out of nowhere, like, well, who's this? But it's not like a bad thing. It's more like, wow, like there's different facets of this person. And through laughter, you know what I mean? Through yeah, just happiness and laughter. Like, we just be cracking jokes and just laughing all the time. And then what that does is it alleviates a lot of the heavy stuff. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately we don't want to do that. We rather be laughing. So, you know what I'm saying? You understand the difference between what's important and what is like.
You're saying finding your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And coasting on that.
Word.
I want to hear from other couples though too.
So,
no, not at all. Kidding. Yeah, he said enough for both of us right now. Mm-hmm. Pass the baton over to another couple. Are you guys there?
Last thing I need to
you take over.
I'll jump in. I'm sorry, we're a little chaotic right now. We're like right in the middle of no matter how many times you tell kids to not interfere, they're gonna keep coming back. So I apologize now and for our voice and our interruptions,
and we're just coming off our board meeting, so yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about being late. Apologies, but you know, peace and love to everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
we've been married for what, 12 years?
Yeah.
It just hit 12 years. We got married when we were extremely young. I was 18, she was 20, and yeah, it's been an adventure. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's been a journey. It's been an adventure. like for real, shout out to you, Aseer, for what you said, because being able to go through it with somebody who is my best friend. This is my best friend before we had got married. This is my best friend before I got into the knowledge of Moorish science. When I made the transition and started to learn and understand and adopt Moorish science, she was like right there with me. She was right there with me, learning it with me, understanding it with me. Just the conversations that we've had, the talks that we've had, the growth that we've had on this journey. It's just been amazing. We have 3 boys. We travel full time. We actually live on the road. We're in our built house right now that I built with my hands. It's just crazy. We're doing life
in a way neither of us ever experienced.
Exactly.
And kind of getting to experience it with our kids and experience what this life looks like or what it looks like to really have like a whole family for the first time along with our kids and kind of living vicariously through them, being able to experience our parent or their parents in a happy and a healthy relationship, and kind of that being even more motivation for us to keep going and keep being able to provide that for not just them, but anyone that we come in contact with, because it's important. It needs to be seen. Yeah.
It's very important, especially for our paradigm, for what we're doing as Moors, for our community. This for me, I feel like it's one of the real key ways that, our community will rise up. It's by families. It's the family unit, the real understanding of the family unit, what we can do when we have a strong family unit, and just how it goes. And so that's kind of what we strive to do, is just to inspire others and show our journey and allow others to learn and grow with us. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it. It won't be too long.
That's incredible.
Nice.
Awesome.
Islam, Moors, Islam.
Wow.
Give honors, man. Honored to be here tonight. Islam to all the couples in here tonight, this evening. Akil and the Moor Grand Sheik and Sheikess. Akil and the Moor. We've been married 26 years. So we probably the OGs in the group. Married 26 years. Just to camelback off of what you more said, man. This is my right hand, left hand, you know what I'm saying? And the laughter, Aseer, he nailed it with the laughter, It's not a day that don't go by, we not, clowning around and just, tapping into other things other than the stuff that, bogs us down on a daily basis. So, not only that, we've had a Moorish ministry where we counsel couples since about 2008. We've married about 7 couples. We've actually done some Moorish marriage ceremonies. We just, as a couple, we just try to live by example. I think as Moors, the main thing we need to do is just, live by example, live by our deeds. And I've always stood on that. I just feel like, instead of the back and forth, I feel the best way to show and prove who we are is to actually live it. So even with the homeschooling, we homeschooled our kids for 14, 15 years, they hold on into college, So, and we were like the only ones doing that. And that could be challenging. Aside from Aseer and our sister Celina, But they were in a different city. So I'm talking about where we're at. We were like the only Moors, doing that. So that could be challenging, especially even our peers. Some Moors still didn't have the fortitude or the capabilities to homeschool. We made a choice and a commitment to do so, and it worked. I wouldn't trade it in for the world. So we're about putting in the work. I've been fortunate and blessed to have great elders to show me how to do this. And one of the things the elder told me was, when us as men, we bring in this knowledge home, it's one thing to tell her, yeah, this is going on, read this book, look at this video. He said, but you got to show and prove. And a lot of Moors that I come across, or a lot of brothers that I come across, them and their lady, they have differences because he's not showing and prove. He telling her one thing, but he's not really. So I just learned early that, if I'm gonna come home and tell her that, yo, babe, we gotta do this, and it's this now, because she was always conscious. It's just, I had to lead the way. So when the prophet found me, you know, it was easy. She made it easy for me to continue to grow as a man and a Moor, and it was easy for me to convey this knowledge to her. So, and I also had great teachers like Aseer and Celina, and like I said, other elders, man, that just really led the way for me. Real talk. So I've been fortunate. This, you know, it's not easy, but it has seemed easy for me because I've been fortunate to have been taught by real great ones, great minds. So I yield the floor, Islam.
Just want to come back on that real quick because you know, seeing Celina and Aseer, that's my brother and my sister. So when you have a community that think like you, Aseer literally took everything out the mouth because we've lived it, we're living it. It's not something you put on being a Moor. Like that's one of the things that when Akil told me about this interview, I was like, oh, this is dope because I'm Brooklyn all day, right? But I'm Moorish all day, and I don't have to be in headdress, Moorish garb. Like I function every day as a Moorish woman. If you talk to me, you know, oh, she got knowledge herself. She's, you know, when I tell you I've homeschooled my kids for 14 years, we don't participate in immunizations. Like holistically, we live a very holistic life. So connecting with Aseer and Celina and Akil, they were studying under the same astrologist. May we give honors to Moorish American, may Allah be pleased with her. So the circle is small, and I remember Bobby Hemmett saying a long time ago in one of his lectures that this conscious walk is lonely, right? And so it makes it even that much smaller when it's Moorish, because people are afraid to kind of walk into. It was a no-brainer. When Akil came home with the dynamics of it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense because I know I'm not African American. My family goes back to the depths of Georgia and the Caribbean. Like I don't have no ancestors that go to Africa. So this made sense to me. So it wasn't like a pull and tug. And I grew up, we were married in the Baptist church. Like let's keep it 100. We were married in the church, but that was just a stepping stone for us to get to the Moorish paradigm. I worked for the Archdiocese for 13 years. So I understood the spiritual, somewhat religious construct. So this was just easy, but when you're in good company, you don't have to live close. You know what I'm saying? The Cordoba L's are a phone call away or a video chat away, and now we have a whole new paradigm of other couples. Like this has not been a hard walk. Marriage is hard, but the Moorish part has been easy, if that makes sense. Now you yield the floor.
Islam.
You had the floor, brother. Well, you have to unmute.
Okay,
Oh, there
finally.
you go.
Sorry, it's weird how it's working over here. It keeps on going away, but I just have to say it because me personally, you know, I've only been in this movement for about since 2019 is when I really kind of came into the knowledge, and yeah, like it's an honor and a blessing to really be amongst you guys. Y'all some heavy hitters. Y'all some heavy hitters in our culture and in what we do. And I appreciate being able to be on this with y'all and learn and listen to y'all. Yeah, it's a blessing. Or a blessing. Thank you very much once again.
Appreciate you, brother.
Honest, brother.
Islam. Yeah, gratitude. It's a pleasure to have you all on here. And you know, regardless of the years, we've been married for 23, been together for 25 years. We all have some weight up in here. You know, everybody does. So, and we all have the lessons that we could share, you know, through our life experience. But, you know, one of the things that you said, brother, you're speaking about, you know, how important marriage is, you know, for us to build our nation. And, you know, the brothers, sister, Akil and Amor L, you know, speaking about homeschooling. I wanted to speak about that, just the cultural and the national implications, like the role of strong families in building a Moorish American nation, because there's people out there, young men and women, right? They're getting into the knowledge. But I would love to hear from each one of you your perspective on how that, you know, the actual coming together in that divine unity, raising our children as Moorish Americans, them looking, seeing mom and dad are Moorish Americans. You know, there's no conflict. You know, there's no one's trying to sneak them pork, or one's trying to, you know, have the little daughter dressing like a, you know, prostitute. None of that stuff's going on, right? Both parents need to be Moorish American, raising their children as Moorish Americans. And that is how you build an actual nation and pass down a legacy. So if we could just go in the same order, you know, please, please share your perspective on that, or whether you agree or not, and please just share in your own words, what you think.
I'm 100% behind that, because one thing that a lot of historical movements had, whether it was the civil rights movement or the early Christian movement or whatever movement, there's always been a core group of families that accept the teaching first.
Mm-hmm.
And once they accept it, then it becomes what it ultimately can become, as opposed to it being brought on people and imposed on them through an arbitrary act of control or forced submission. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you study things like the Moorish Temple of America and then the Divine and National Movement, and then all of the historical thing happened. When you look at all of those pictures of all of those people, you don't just see like a bunch of dudes. You don't see just a bunch of women. Like, you see men, women, children, and then you see them in front of businesses and homes and stuff that they actually own. Like, people don't realize that a lot of those pictures that you see them standing, they're not just standing in somebody's yard. Like, that's everything you see around them in the picture belong to them. So there's something to say about having a community that is dedicated or that has a spiritual base to its infrastructure, because the only way that men accept or neglect things coming from other men is whether or not it's been justified by some sort of higher power. You know what I'm saying? And people who don't even believe in higher power still fall under that subjugation, because that's how human beings, light beings, are wired. We're wired to understand that there's a higher self and a lower self. So when the movement fell and it went through that schism between 28 and 38, like, it dwindled down, like they say, literally to like a couple of people, but these people still kept it going in the house, in the home of a family. You see what I'm saying? That was so dedicated to keeping the fellowship of, which is the essence of the movement itself, right, going, that because they did that at a time when then you had other groups that had maybe more money or more influence or more whatever. And yes, they had men and women, but their agenda was different. When you bring it down to the brass tacks, the reason why we can live in it now is because you had people that was doing that, you know what I mean, at a time when they were trying to change the complexion of what the whole movement itself was about. So the essence then of the temple is then the family. It's not the building. It's not the doctrine. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's only when the family accepts the doctrine that it becomes the purpose then of the family. So who wouldn't want to uplift fallen humanity? Who wouldn't want to do that? But who better to do that than humanity itself, which in symbolism can be the woman that the prophet was bringing out the water. But nowadays, I feel it's all of us coming out of this whole patchwork family, baby mama, teen mother, everybody raising each other kid, single mother home, prison, school pipeline. Like, we grew up through all of that, experienced it, and now are trying to do something different. But then we want to add our people to it, but we can't save all of them. So we gotta, like you said, start with the individual, the man and the woman, who then is bringing forth the child that can then play with this other child, and they all can now make it so that way when we see this little Moor with this little fez on, he's not being picked on by everybody else. There's a community of people who that's normal. You know what I'm saying? So again, that can only come from a family. It can't come from guns or anything else. It got to start with the mother and the father saying, this is how we're going to raise this child. And then, you know, adapting to that choice. Because it ain't going to be easy. They're going to try to make you think you bugging. But we're always proven right in the end. You know what I mean? COVID was nothing to us. You know what I mean? We wasn't involved with any of that anyway. You dig? We didn't have any issues with that. We didn't have to send any for our child. You know what I mean? We didn't have to send no letters to nobody at night because we do all that ourselves. So it was kind of cool. And then at the same time, it then showed other people how cool it actually was not to have to deal with none of that. And so that spawned a whole cycle of people now getting into homeschooling, getting into curriculum, trying to teach things like cursive and all that type of stuff again. You know what I mean? The basic stuff that we done forgot. So yeah, you know, it as they say, is lonely. How it said at the same time, when you as a man take your wife, that's your family now. Like the people you came from, you know what I'm saying? Like that's your extended, but your family is y'all. You know what I mean? And if you want to keep that tight, you can't invite so many outside influences to negate what the foundation y'all said is with y'all child and each other with. That's when I feel like a lot of things happen. So in the reverse, not to be long-winded, but in the reverse, in that way, Moorish science actually weeded out a lot of the excess people in our lives that for whatever reason negated themselves from it. You know what I mean? Based upon the fact, oh, he wearing a fez or she wearing a turban or they believe in that, or they wearing feathers and they filming in the museum. Like all of these things are now mainstream things that because of our diligence have become the norm as to like we set the basis on what TikTok and all of this stuff is just within the so-called conscious community itself. Again, men and women together, you know what I mean? Before all of the conjecture. So I just feel like Moorish science is like almost a benchmark because it allowed us to have a commonality of purpose and culture without us having to assimilate into something that was ultimately going to be a detriment to us. You know what I mean? It's not like becoming, you know, Muslim or this or that. Like it's not about conversion or submission or you know what I mean, seclusion or suffering. You know what I mean? It was the basis of none of that was that. It was basis of it is basically who you are, who he is, who she is, who y'all are, what y'all do, what y'all can do, what y'all should do, and this is how you can do it. That's it. Everything else is what dirty Moors or other people put on top of that. But at the root of it, to put a bow in it, it's the female and the male holding the family down because everybody else is against that.
He gives the most long explanation.
I know.
And then goes to put a bow on it.
I know.
Like,
I'll be trying to condense it, but then I'll be like, oh yeah, but then that. So
it's
again, I'll
beautiful. No, I love it.
It's good to hear I'm not the only one because she be saying the same thing about me. I'll get to talking. Yeah, I feel you. But I mean, like, just to caveat what you said, it's exactly that.
Absolutely.
Man, funny you said 2020 or COVID was like the staple point because I got into the knowledge like right before COVID. And when COVID hit, for me, it felt like the real testament or test of whether or not I believed in this knowledge. I remember as a father, like you said, as a father, our job is to take care of our family. And we've been homeschooling. We had already started homeschooling, so we didn't have to send out. We didn't have to worry about half the stuff that people were already worried about. We were in nature already. We weren't worried about sending my kids to school or whether or not they were going to get COVID. But my youngest son has he has kidney issues. And so
Mm.
for me, like the holistic approach of understanding what Moorish science was, it gave me the confidence to know that, first off, like the system that's currently in place, I don't have to abide by that. Like you said, I don't have to assimilate into this in order to survive as a family. I can take it upon myself I can find the confidence in myself to heal my family, to teach my sons, to be there for my wife. It just gave me a sense of confidence. And so with that confidence, it's kind of allowed me to understand that I'm military. So I look at everything kind of like units and cells. Go ahead, do your thing. For us, or within our marriage, we've come to realize that, like you said, it's just me and her. We're the unit. We are the unit. We're the foundation. We're everything, and everything builds on top of us. If we're powerful and we take our sons and we create and build them to be powerful as well, then we're powerful together. We have a unit of power. Now you take one unit that's as powerful as me and mix it in with someone who, let's say like Aseer, who y'all got 20 plus years of marriage together, mixed in with our 10 years of marriage or 12 years of marriage of knowledge. You take that together, and those two units are now it's 3 times the power. You add that with another unit that's homeschooling, believing the same thing, has the same spiritual foundation, and you start to build a strong community. And so for me, the unity of our nation really does come completely down to the family. It comes down to us understanding the real power that we have by staying together, by working through our issues, by continuing to grow as a family. And like you said, not playing the baby mama games, not playing the divorce games, not playing the games that have been given to our community and have been repeated in our community and kind of got us to where we are. I mean, I know I didn't grow up with my father in the household, and for me personally, that was a staple of problems that I had dealt with. And so I know a lot of people in my generation that are have the same exact walks, and those that have, kind of gotten into the knowledge and the information of self and kind of understood themselves have made the changes that are necessary in order for us to really come together and unite. Whereas, like he was saying, those that haven't, they've kind of excommunicated themselves. They've been negated. They're not around anymore, and they can't come around because we don't got the same foundation. We don't relate. And I mean, it's beautiful. It's bittersweet because, like you said, it is lonely. Like it is. I remember, first getting into the information and trying to bring it to other people. People are looking at you, like you said, like you're looking at me like crazy. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's cognitive dissonance. It's completely, they don't understand. But once you start to understand yourself and really just kind of like lean into it and really learn and live it, it's a whole different story. I don't, there's no fear. It's like, hey, if I'm gonna walk alone, I'm gonna walk alone and do my own thing. And then if I'm doing my own thing and I come across brothers and sisters that are doing their own thing and it's just like my thing and Allah's guiding me, and man, it's nothing. Then you start to feel the confidence. You start to be like, okay, I'm on the right path. This is the path that I need to be on, and I'm gonna get where I'm going. So with that, I yield.
Islam.
Islam.
Yeah, brother, that's you're on the right path. Trust me. Everything you said was solid and on point. For us again, when we decided to homestead, so I'm a teacher by nature. So I taught in the schools. When we first moved here to Charlotte, I was in the schools, and man, it was horrible. And for real, it was bad, to the point where I came home and I said, to wife, I was like, nah, we got to get our girls. My son he was just born barely, he wasn't ready for school, but the girls were. And I was like, we got to take them out of school. So what we going to do? So, let's homeschool. We both agreed. It wasn't no hesitation. We both agreed. It was a conscious choice that we did. But I'm going to say this, like when I was growing up, we lived in the so-called like crack era where it was a lot of single moms, so to speak, disengaged families. But like actually where I grew up, all of my friends, I had a pretty big group of friends. They all had mother and father in the house, and they all was from the Caribbean. You understand? So I seen a lot of like you know, hard work, discipline, families of 10 and 12, you know, the closeness. So that was always in the back of my mind as far as what I thought marriage was. Because, you know, unfortunate for me, like I had a man in the house early, but in those crucial years, there was no one there, you know what I'm saying, as far as a man. So, you know, the marriage thing and then homeschooling, again, it became easy for me because I felt like I already had a blueprint on what I felt how it was done. So when we started to homeschool, for me, to be honest, that's when we really took off. That's when I felt like the science really started to make sense to me, because as I'm teaching my children, I'm teaching myself also. I'm that knowledge is boomeranging back to me. So I'm going in. I'm teaching them the one-on-ones. Everything I'm learning, I'm teaching them. I didn't care. They was 5. So I didn't care how old they was. You know what I'm saying? Everything that I was, if I got it from out there and I thought it was right, and I put it in the curriculum. I put it in the lesson. So like, you know, I learned how to do astrology up until doing charts. Like I never got really into it like that. Like, you know, some masters, but I taught them that. You know what I'm saying? Like how to do a trust, how to understand the trust. Like we went in. And so as we was doing that, I felt like, you know, the overstanding and the mastery of our science became easier. And it also made our marriage easier because, you know, it just fortified us. We saw our children growing. You know, the participation in temple when we had temple open here, and them being at temple every Friday, and just them applying what they learned in school at the temple. You feel me? So yeah, to me, homeschooling was the key. That was when we really took off, and it was 15 years. 15 years we did it. You know what I mean? So I believe homeschool should be a staple. And here's the crazy thing: a European put us on. You know what I'm saying? Like when we was thinking about doing it, we was going to people that looked like us, and they was like, I can't do it. I gotta work, and I boom, 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 right? And there was a neighbor that lived across the street. And she used to always be on my wife, like, no, you should do it. But they wanted us to come from the Christian aspect of it, with a Christian curriculum and teaching them all of that. And we was like, okay, yeah. So we already had in our mind how we was going to do it. But it was really this European lady that put us on. And yeah, man, I think it was the best thing we've ever done. Just like I'm sure the rest of y'all agree, man, because just to see your children grow and manifest through the knowledge is something amazing, man. And to this day, I can see it. I could see them living it, you know what I'm saying? So that's amazing to me right now. So, you know, salute to everybody. You know, it's not hard. You know, it takes a commitment. It really does, you know. And because I was a teacher, I was the one that decided to stay and teach them, man. And those are during crucial years, during my music and I put all of that really aside to really, you know, boots to the ground and teach my children, because I did not. Especially my son, I did not want them to go to that school. Man, that place is insane. So, you know.
Babe, tell them the real story why you was the teacher. The real story was I was too disciplined, and my girls was like, you should go to work.
Well, I tell you, I was a teacher by nature.
I literally wanted like uniforms.
Yeah.
Like I wanted t-shirts that had Non-Ether Academy. Like I was really awesome. Let's really take this to the next level. And my girls was like, so when you going back to work? Yeah. Like we need daddy as a class. Like, and so he has this way. I call him the child whisperer, because he's coached so many of our sons' teams, like unwillingly, just being that parent, that vote of confidence. He's that encourager. He's that supporter. Like he sees the child for who they are and not for what society says they are. And so it was a no-brainer for him. They swore. So both of our daughters, our youngest daughter, who's now a master's degree, Aseer, she just got her master's. So yeah, she went in as an L during COVID, her first year in school. So her being isolated wasn't a problem for her. She was calling like, Ma, the kids is crying every day. Like, this is crazy. But she had already had, 9-10 years of being homeschooled. So going into college during COVID was not a big deal for her. But our oldest daughter, she went all the way up to 9th grade. And then we pulled her out when we finally had the courage, to y'all point, because it takes courage. We both 2 kids from Brooklyn, and anybody that was homeschooled, you had special needs or you had behavioral problems. So that wasn't something that we had seen until it made sense when we were coming into, really like not coming into the knowledge, but really embracing the knowledge, saying like where I want to get this point across to anyone that's watching this replay is that you're your child's first teacher. Your child learns how to walk, talk, go to the bathroom, how to eat, how to comb their hair, brush their teeth, how to say yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you please, and all the things. And so right at the pivotal moment at 5 to 6 years old, when they're at the most influenced space, we send them off to somebody else. And that was my thought process. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I taught my kids all of these things. We already prepared them for life. And so during homeschool, it wasn't for college. We were preparing our children for life so that these young women, and then our son coming in, and he's like, to know this dude at 19, he's a master in himself. And he stood on his square because he's had influences. He's had this man stand 1,000 times, 10 toes down, never wavering, that on his 10th birthday, he's like, Daddy, I want a suit. I need a suit and I need a fez. And that was something that he wanted for his birthday because he saw Dad show up every Friday at Temple, and Akil's working with Moors and getting administratively, just kind of showing Moors how to maneuver through the system. And his son was watching, and he was very, very adamant about that. So I got pictures. Like he was like, he couldn't wait. And we gifted him his Temple card for his 10th birthday. And that's something he carries in his wallet today. And that's 19. And so the influence that the men make when it's not being dictated, right? So I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, that we want to hear men, we want to see men do what they do. Like Akil said, and Aseer said, like we want to see you do it so we can walk in it and embrace it as well and take it and put that feminine spin on it. But yeah, I always got to tell that story. Like the girls did not want me to be a homeschool teacher. They was like, nah, you too strict. You said we can have fun. This is not fun. So
yeah, I made it fun. I mean, I suspended them. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I would suspend them and all that. We kept it.
The structure was there.
Kept it structural. You know what I'm saying? But again, to put a cap on it, homeschool really for us, that was the catapult. For me, that's when we really locked in. You know what I mean? And, it's nothing like your tribe or your family locking in on something together and taking flight. That's the most beautiful feeling. Islam.
Man, it's wonderful hearing from all of you. Before we move on to the next topic, just wanted to say Islam to the brother Kerry Allende L and his wife as well. And wanted to see, brother, if you could share your thoughts on that same topic, just speaking about the cultural implications, how important how important marriage is to us as Moors, and actually really building our nation. Brother, please, share your thoughts.
Islam to the Moors, Islam to the panel. I see a lot of people that I follow on Facebook up here as well. So I want to say honest to each and every one of you all, first and foremost. To get right to it, the Quran speaks of it. It says, take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinance of Allah. That is a very important aspect of nationality and nationhood. When you have the combination of husband and wife, you have that wisdom and will producing the love. Nationhood, nationality, government all begins in the home. And that element is a missing element to our people. First and foremost, we find it says, take these lessons and do what? Teach them to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. But that's a message for the mothers, to our wives. It's a message to them. And it says, dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your household in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. What I've learned is to take the principles of the temple and put it into the home. It's not about me beating on my chest saying, I'm the man, I run things. It's not about that. Because the prophet say the scepter of power rests on her brow. She speaks and the servants fly. All I got to do is govern. All I got to do is live out the lessons that she's teaching the little ones. So, marriage is a very beautiful thing. It's an intricate part of nationality. In some societies, you're not a man without a wife. And to our sisters, it doesn't say you got to take into yourself a husband. However, it does allude to being the proper reflection of what it is that a Moorish American Muslim is to look for in a woman, because that's one of the things that I had to do. I had to realize there's a 3-step ladder in a relationship before you get to marriage. Some of us, we have a tendency to skip over friendship. It says, make her your friend. Then it says, take her home. Then make her the companion. I'm not going to say the other part, because some people that may have not have heard that before may take it in the wrong context. But we don't believe in dating forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't believe in dating forever. I mean, if you're going to date forever, you're never going to get married. But you have to, I was instructed that you look for that virtue in a woman in the chapter for the young men. Those are warnings for young men. And it's also examples for the ladies. Who doesn't want to be married? Women naturally have that. They're raised to have a family or to want a family, desire a family. And all of that's being taken from us as a people. But look, I don't want to take over. I just got in the house. I'm a truck driver, got in late. My wife is taking care of my 3 children that are here. My oldest is out of the house now. So she couldn't join us. Plus she's camera shy. So I'm kind of working on her to kind of break that habit. And maybe she can join us the next time. But I do apologize for my tardiness, Brother Sheik, Douglas Hill.
Islam, brother, Islam. It's a pleasure to have you on here. So and we appreciate you for sharing your wisdom as well. And just to wrap back up, or to just to hit on what everybody was saying. I wanted to say something too, because the brother Aseer had spoken about that imagery, from the Quran questionnaire, with the prophet lifting fallen humanity or unconscious humanity up out of the water. And I just wanted to say I agree as well that that's not just about lifting the woman up, out of the cares of the world. That's all of us. That woman with humanity on her hip, written on her hip, that represents all of us. That's unconscious humans, lifting us out of the cares of the world and then onto that solid rock of salvation. So we have those laws in there that actually, that ensure our earthly and divine salvation. And I think a lot of people who, come into that understanding that they're Moors, who feel like, who agree with that line of thinking, or, historically they feel like they're Moors, they don't realize that we actually have laws pertaining to marriage, of course, within our Quran questionnaire, but even, within our divine constitution, Act 7. So, and these laws define the responsibilities of husband, wives, and children. So it impacts our whole entire community, our whole entire nation. It's a part of who we are. And this is how we come up out of those cares of the world. There's so many things, that could be in our way, that could be, hindering us, in the ways of the world. And actually following these divine instructions, that's how we can be standing on that solid rock of salvation. And it's really the only way. There's no way. We can't leave that stuff out. But I want to just keep things moving. I have a couple other questions that I wanted to get everybody's feedback from. But before we do that, I know the sister over here wanted to say something.
Islam. First and foremost, I want to rise perfect praise to Allah. Honest to his prophet Noble Drew Ali. Honest to all you Muslims on the call. It is a pleasure to be here, family. I just wanted to add that when we open up the front cover of our Holy Quran of Moorish Temple of America, it says, "Know thyself and thy Father God Allah." And when we take that information, when we learn about the whole front of the whole first part of the Quran, is teaching us to be our Father God Allah, to be like God, to be God man. And when we take that knowledge and we apply it, and then we teach that to the children, like, this is creating a whole generation of mental wealth. You know, this is like when we send our children out into the world, we don't even worry about them being influenced by others because they know that they are God. There's nothing higher than that, you know? So like we, you know, at first before we came into the temple and before we started following the prophet to, you know, we left the country because we was just that radical. We was just like, we was mad when we first came into the consciousness. We were like, you know what? Burn down Babylon. Let's go. Like we went all the way to Brazil, right? We we took our children. It was 3 small children. And, you know, we have 5 children now. So we left with 3 small children, came back with 4 and 1 in the oven, right? So while we were there, we sent them to school in Brazil. We was living like Brazilians, you know, and then we was homeschooling them so that they could know American, you know, curriculums, you know, here. So when we came back, they were prepared. So when we came back, we came to Ohio and we put them in school here. But then, you know, we had enough knowledge of self to where the schools didn't like mess with us as far as vaccination because our kids aren't vaccinated, you know, like we was protected by our creator who made us, Allah. So, you know, so we was standing on that principle, standing on the square, and we sent them out into the world, but we made sure they were guarded, you know, they were armed with the swords of Allah. And so fast forward to present time, our oldest is 22 and our youngest is 11. And, you know, it's just, we sit back and observing and we're proud of these people that we are raising because, you know, they understand all of this knowledge. They understand. And then they bring their friends in and their friends, we don't care what they are. Their friends, they're, you know, what are best friends, boyfriends, they come in here and they standing praying, you know.
Yeah, we doing the holy day. They doing
with everybody they bringing into the house so that we're influencing other families and friends and stuff in, you know, the community that is outside of the Moorish community. And we feel like that is so important for us to be so strong in who we are and our knowledge of self that we don't have to fold or we don't have to, you know, follow behind any other cultures or what's happening around us. We bring them into ours. You know, they become a part of our life and our lifestyles. So honors to all you, you know, for standing up and, you know, being independent and fearless Moorish American Muslims, because that's what it's all about. Islam. I yield the floor.
Islam. I wanted to give a shout out to Nicholas, to Sally Bryant Bay. Gratitude for that super chat. Want to give you thanks. Just send some respect, honors out to you. And before we move on to any other questions, just want to ask if did anybody have anything they wanted to say before we move on? All right. If not, okay, cool. So just going to the, you know, the roles, the responsibilities that we have, right, in this society. How do you approach like fulfilling your divine responsibilities as a husband and wife in your household? And also, what advice would you give out there to young men or young women that, you know, are preparing for marriage, that want to take that next step? And you know what, let's just go in the manner that we're up here on the screen. Brother Akil and Amor L, and then Brother Bennett Bey, Sheikh Linde L, and Brother and Sister Cordoba L.
Islam. So I'll take this one. This is kind of like, I love couples, right? And so as having, you know, adult daughters and now having a young man, it's important for couples. I would say to any couple, first from a woman perspective, is to know thyself, right? And so know where you're coming from and what your expectations of what you think marriage is and what the reality is, right? And so that would be my first in-depth conversation to the couple itself. Like, what is your expectations of what you think marriage is? And 2, what are your belief systems, right? Because you can be Moorish American, masculine with Nation of Islam thought process, where your wife really don't have a say. So if they're not on the same page of what the expectation, the end result is going to look like, they're going to have turbulence throughout. And so if they got to get on that page and really start to embrace it, and for the women, from my perspective that I've found over the years in counseling and just watching couples, is that women have got to let their parents' version of what relationships look like. You know, Aseer touched on that earlier, and you have to allow a man to be a man. And if you don't know what that is, you need to get around some strong women that has been around men and been in a relationship and has grown and matured and evolved with a man to understand what that looks like. And so a man he's bigger than paying the bills. He's bigger than fixing something, right? He's the head, he's the protector. And if he has to have that, and you got to trust that. And so that part right there, you have to trust your husband and your helpmate, your wife as well, to lead the family in the capacity that suits them, right? If the husband may be the one that wants to cook, then let him cook and encourage that and support that. And the wife may be the one that she got the education and can make the more money, then let that be. You understand? But you never use that as a mechanism to belittle that person. You never use that as, well, I make the money, so I dictate the rules, even in this Moorish space. And so I really encourage couples to allow each other to be who they are, not for what you want them to be, but stand on the same principles, that same ideology coming from them 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And there's really nothing else to talk about if you're standing on those 5. It's long.
You want to go? You want me?
You can start.
All right. So I mean, just the caveat off of that, that's pretty much the same with us. We mentor. That's kind of what we do, is we mentor couples. And one of the major parts that we like to talk about when we mentor couples is understanding of self, and like really understanding yourself. Because especially in our marriage, for me specifically, when I first started to read the Circle 7, when I first read the Circle 7, it completely changed how I viewed being a husband. It made me realize that being a husband is far deeper than providing and protecting. It gave me kind of a real spiritual understanding and alignment of where I should be and where I wanted to be. And it kind of sent me on that trajectory. And I feel like, especially for a lot of the people that we have talked to, a lot of the men of my generation, that it's important that we have that and that understanding of self, because it kind of gives us a guideline to how we should be operating in our marriage, there's a part in there that talks about kind of how we need to listen. It talks specifically about, I can't remember what chapter it is, but it talks about how we need to listen to our wives, how our wives, we're supposed to give like a soft tone, I think it says, to them, or turn a soft ear to them and make sure that we're listening and understanding what their concerns are. And for me, when I had first read that was like oh shoot, like you're right. That's the problem that I'm having, is that I'm not soft to my partner. I'm not understanding my own emotions within our marriage, which is what's causing me to show up irrationally or show up acting as if she's my enemy when she's not. And the more I kind of started to lean into understanding my own self, understanding how I operate, the better I was able to show up for her. And the better I was able, when I started, the brother Akil was saying that, we have to be leaders. We have to lead by example. The more I started to lead by example of how we should communicate, how we should manage things in our marriage, how even down to how we should take care of our bodies, eating different, these same aspects started showing up within. She started reflecting them right away, almost instantly started reflecting them. We started getting more on the same page. We started having better communication, and ultimately that led to a better relationship. And so what I would give, any advice that I would give, any advice that we do ever give is communication. Communication is key, and really, like you said, understanding each other, understanding what we provide as men, really understanding what we're supposed to provide as men, how emotional intelligence works, how we need to show up to communicate with our women, how we're, just the whole 9 yards. There's so many aspects of being a husband, but being able to understand those aspects and then being able to also understand what role that our wives play, and understanding how to understanding truly how Allah speaks through our wives to communicate certain things to us. I've come to really view marriage as I'm the driver, because I'm literally the driver, but this is my A driver. She got the map. She got the directions of where we're going. I'm just driving. I'm making sure the road is clean. I'm doing all the 9 yards. I'm cleaning the car, fixing the car, doing all that stuff. But we ain't getting nowhere if she's not directing me and helping me with the process. And so really understanding that it has literally transformed our marriage into, our last 6 years have been amazing, outstanding. You know, we had not a rocky first few years.
It was like the biggest earthquake that there ever was.
It was
more than rocky.
It was rocky. It was completely that. And from where we were to where we are now, after understanding the knowledge and really starting to take it in and like living it, really applying those lessons that the Prophet was teaching about how to interact with our wives and how to interact in our relationship, even down to our children, has completely transformed everything. So that's kind of,
I did want to talk,
okay,
but just briefly adding to that, in terms of like telling or communicating, with other couples that are interested in pursuing marriage, or just like passing along advice. I feel like in the couples that we work with, and even just like in everyday life, one of the biggest things I try to get across to people is that marriage is a journey, not a destination. I think a lot of people think that marriage is kind of the end all be all, and it's like it's good and it's perfect from there, and like that's the happily ever after. But in reality, like marriage is just kind of the beginning. It's like the beginning of another chapter, and it's the beginning of another probably one of the hardest chapters that you're going to experience, and being understanding of that coming in and knowing that the whole goal of it is to grow together, to not stay the same person that you were when you entered, but to grow into one person.
Yeah, she took it right out of my mouth. That two becomes one thing, really understanding the dynamic of how to do that and what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to how, once we're on the same page, we're under, man, honestly, like you said, with homeschooling, when we started becoming on the same page with homeschooling, that was like the catapult to, oh shoot, this is the direction that we're going. Once we started becoming on the same page with the principles, the morals, the instruction of our children, of ourselves, how we want to operate ourselves, we catapulted. And that's what's needed. That's kind of what it's there for. That's how you mend to become one. That's how you become we're like two gears in a machine. Once it's moving together, you have a machine that's moving smoothly, and you can make real impact, real progress in your life and in the lives of others. So with that, we yield.
Islam. All right, Sheikh Lindale, you up next.
All right. Hey, look, truth was spoken already. So I want to do my best not to be redundant in the truth that has already been spoken. But one of the things that I'd like to highlight is that, man needs a pattern for his life. And we're coming out of a pattern. And that pattern is basically what America says a marriage is. So I would say that two, they have to become one, but they also have to become one with God. They have to this share the same core beliefs, or as the Bible says, they have to be both equally yoked. God most definitely has to be in the equation, and we cannot have a Eurocentric viewpoint of what a husband is supposed to be. We have to have an Asiatic, African viewpoint of what a husband is, or what a wife is to be to her husband. I love the marriage interpretations in the Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, which highlights our roles and duties. And I know that as an ordained minister, I've performed many obligation ceremonies. But before we do that, we got to sit down and talk and see how and where the two are compatible. And I'm going to say that it's not just about zodiac signs. It's not just about elements. It's about the spirit, naturally. It kind of reminds me of something in history with Emil didn't have a wife. And the prophet said, if you want to be the grand sheik, you better take it to yourself a wife. And so he said, I don't have any woman to choose from. And the prophet said, hey, you might want to go see Sister Brown ill, Delilah Brown ill. That was her name before she was Sister Amelia ill. He's like, but I don't love her. And the prophet said, love is our first principle. So, you know, that kind of reminds me of the state of our people. We have to learn what this love is first. All right, love is not just a sexual thing. It's not just a love being around you. You know, that's typically what it is. We fall in love with being around someone and not their spirit. You know, so the spirit never becomes one with the other spirit because we have a finite point of view of what love is. So I would say unite with God first. We institute a little bit of rituals. We just don't get carried away with it. But I won't say too much here. But I'll say that what makes a successful marriage, and I'm going to tell you something. I've been married going on 14 years. And that might not be as married long as some of the people that are up here, but it's been a rough 14 years. You know, we've lost a child together, and we've heard other people say, when I say lost a child, I'm talking about lost a teenager. We've heard other people say, well, I don't know if their marriage is going to last because, you know, statistically, it says that when a married couple loses a child, that the marriage doesn't last long. That's not true. If your foundation is God and you have the same core belief, you're going to be with each other through thick and thin. All right. And one thing we got to realize too, it's not a marriage, it's an obligation. It's deeper than just a piece of paper. It's deeper than just saying, you know, this is my wife and all her property is my property and her property. It's deeper than that. There's other components involved. I would suggest, you know, not jumping out there and having children right away. Get to know each other, date each other, see the world together. You know what I'm saying? You know, that part. You know, my wife and I, we started off with the children. That's why I'm saying that. So we really didn't get time to, you know, enjoy one another. We just jumped into parenting. And that plays that puts a dent in a marriage oftentimes, you know, whereas the attention is now shifted on the lives that you created together. And it's like, you know, it's like more of a partnership, a business partnership with this child. You know, we got to take care of the child. And it's like, we need a babysitter, but we just not dropping the babies off with anybody. So, it's difficult. So back to the ritual. There's a ritual where we give some bitters out, and then we give some sweet stuff, sweet tasting stuff. So we give the bitter first, and we say, savor it in your mouth. Oh, it's bitter. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the majority of your marriage, realistically, the bitter times. And then we say, okay, we'll put this refreshing mint in your mouth. Savor the sweetness. Oh, this is better. Yes, yes. You have to remember those moments over the bitter. And that ritual actually, it stamps and puts an impression on the soul, which causes you to remember that. Causes you to remember the sweet time over the bitter. So I found that out of 8 marriage obligation ceremonies I performed, 8 of those couples are still together, praise the Lord. So, one of the things I ask is, what kept you together? And every single one of them said, remembering the sweet moments over the bitter times. Because, you know, you can grow out of love. you can grow out of loving someone, concentrating on their imperfections, and their imperfections become a demon that you got to fight. You know, when you got yourself together, here come that demon, and then you know, next thing you know, you're out the picture. So we want to generate and cultivate the idea of love and what true love is among our people. And the prophet most definitely is promoting healthy Moorish marriages. And yes, he does use the marriage, and I don't want anybody to get it confused with what I'm saying about obligations in marriage. Obligation is a little deeper. I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm going to be quiet after this. I remember in 2000 and I believe it was 10, I went to go get my minister's my ordination papers recorded, and the lady down at the clerk's office said, "I know all about you Moorish Americans. Y'all don't get married, you get obligated." And she began to explain to me the obligation. And my wife, you know, she was new to, you know, the whole idea of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, and all of that. And she thought that I was getting kind of over her because I was saying, we getting obligated, baby. We ain't getting married, we getting obligated. So it was great to hear an outsider explain what an obligation is. It's a little more serious than a marriage is. You know, and in the eyes of Allah, he shuns upon divorce. So when you take into yourself a wife, and this is my final message here, when you take into yourself a wife, you better make sure that's the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life. I'm telling you. Or your soul will suffer, and vice versa for the sisters. I mean, you know, I can't speak for my wife right now because she's taking care of our youngest, and our youngest has autism. So he's subject to start talking any minute now because it's nighttime. That's just how he do. But just, you know, keep love first, and keep them sweet moments over the bitter. And I'm telling you, you'll grow old with that person. And if I got a little bit more time, how many more minutes I got? I just wanted to give you something from Buddha real quick on marriage, if that's okay.
Brother Douglas ain't here, so I mean, shoot.
Oh, okay. All right. Wait. All right. So look, right. You know, Prophet Noble Drew say we study the philosophies of all the divine prophets: Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. Right. So, in the book of Buddha, there was a couple that he was given some instructions and guidance to, and one of the questions that the couple asked, I've always thought about: will I be with my wife in the next life? And I really gravitated to this conversation that Buddha had with the two married couples, and his answer was profound. Buddha said, if you're concerned about being together in the next lifetime, I would say you first have to believe what he was talking to the wife. You would have to believe as he believed. You will surely find yourself together in the next life. So any couple that's concerned about the next life, you could, man, that's true love. I don't know if my wife want to be with me in the next life, but I definitely had that thought on my mind about being with my wife, and that's one of the things I told her. I said, hey, you know, I remember being with you in another lifetime. She said, what you mean? I said, because a lot of the things that was unsolved, we were having to solve in this lifetime. So I thought that was really profound when I read that in the book of Buddha about the married couple asking if they would be together the next night. So look, I'm gonna be quiet after that. I'm just going off the top. I'm working off for probably about 3 hours of sleep. I'm a truck driver and I gotta bounce back up again. So I'm gonna let somebody else drop the jewels, give the wisdom out. Peace.
Islam.
Islam, everybody.
That was great.
Praise Allah.
Yeah, just to add on, man. The more marriage is like or being with somebody in a commitment is evidence of how much you believe in your word. Because if I say I'm gonna do something, she's not gonna be on me to do it, but she's gonna see if I do it or not. And it don't even be like malicious. It don't be like, oh, she's nipping. No, that's just the nature of how things are. However, if you're the type of individual that can't be adaptable to someone else's growth, at times when if you're not adaptable to being able to support somebody else's growth, even when it not necessarily aligns with your own, to me, that's when you know, like, I really care about this person. I want this person's happiness to be such that whatever I can do or not do, I want to see that happen. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, the selflessness aspect of being in a situation where, regardless of who or what, you know, if this person asks for something, whether you feel like it or not, it would behoove you to do it, especially when this person don't be asking you a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's when you know, like, no, this person doesn't really think. So if this person is asking, then she really wants it, or she really needs it, or she feels that she does. Whatever it is, you need to do it. You dig? And it's not even about gender or role or female and male at that point. At that point, it's just intrinsic. This is the bioorganism we created, is this relationship. So in order for this bioorganism to continue to function, it has to have the 23 chromosomes from me and the 23 chromosomes from you. Because if not, if it falters, then we're going to see this thing become something else that we don't want to see like that. So it's better we be honest with who we are in the situation. A lot of times people find themselves in relationships where they feel like they can't be honest in. And they don't realize it until they're in a relationship with somebody that is honest, you dig? And then it becomes a real situation, because now you're trying to keep up with some ideal that you may not even understand at that point in your development, because you're basing this relationship on what happened before. But this is a whole different person. There's a whole different individual that may share characteristics that were similar. But if you're looking at this being, again, as a viable lifetime option, then you need to ask the questions, and you need to be honest about the things that you are into or not into, so that way you can specifically grow in a manner that's vertical instead of spreading apart on a horizontal plane, because then you're not looking at it from the perspective that you can add on and make it better. You're just trying to keep up with what you think the other person doing. And too many of us have come from situations or old time relationships where you weren't really the one that was, you were the one that was either too forgiving, you know what I mean, or too exacting. And so the best way to understand that aspects of yourself is to be in a relationship, because, like I said, you are with an external version of an aspect of self that is, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because of who he is, specifically very early on in our relationship, I'm somebody that really appreciates transparency. But when you say that in a relationship, some people can see it as a selfish act, like, oh, well, don't tell him that if it's going to affect him in this way. Like, you can't always foreshadow or think the way in which you communicate is going to come off or affect somebody a certain way. You just have to know, is this the type of relationship that we're building? Are you in a transparent relationship by yourself, meaning that you can share certain things, but your partner is not willing to do the same? Or are you in a, a, a transparent relationship where both parties are willing to be transparent at unpopular times? I just think that that's one main reason why you need to know what you're around, what it influences you. Like, for instance, I don't really have a huge feminine group of female friends because I learned very early on that I didn't want to gauge my growth with where I felt my friends were at emotionally or experienced. I don't like experiencing certain things based on group pressures or things of that nature. So, I have a huge thing where monies are shared. I don't necessarily, oh, this is mine, this is yours. But, in a girl group, then, oh, save your own money, make sure you put a little aside for a rainy day. Don't give him. These are certain things that I realized very early on I was breaking the rule or not abiding by a certain code. So I just learned very early on not to share certain thoughts and not to feel as though because I am doing this, I'm somehow not a bad bitch or not making moves because, my savings is his savings. Or I knew from a very early place in life, if these are the type of things I want to experience, I hope that the person that's with me recognizes that and is either A, willing to respect that, or B, be somewhat similar in practicing the same.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't share your business with a lot of people.
Exactly.
Because they'll steer you down the wrong path.
Exactly.
And you don't really, like, the things that you feel are dear to you, you just communicate with your other half and hope that they can keep those things sacred and value them. Like, value the fact that I'm very transparent and I'm not going to lie about certain things. So make sure
You're with somebody that can respect that.
And make sure certain stuff is in order because, only being with one person, you don't want to make that person feel pressured. Like, well, if you drop the ball, nah, for years in a relationship, things might not be where you want them to be material wise. But, the first 10 years might be difficult. And then the 10 years after that might just be a reward for all the 10 years you went through that are quote unquote difficult. I think you just got to know what you want to be with and hopefully communicate with somebody that can be honest enough in saying, hey, I want to experience certain similarities, or, at times where it's difficult, you not judge me for holding it up. You're not judging me for paying the bills for a number of years. Those are the things that I think a lot of people get kind of lost in. And, because society says this, or like I thought of the Tia Mowry marriage the other day. And because, people were saying, well, your husband isn't excited for your wins. Like, who's to say that they divorced for the right reasons? They might have just divorced based on society pressures, making her feel like, your man got to be making the same amount of money. And if he isn't, then he's a bump. Who knows? These are principles that the individual needs to be clear about, because it's going to be a lot of pressure when you guys get together for anybody to, influence or say whatever. And with that, I mean, like, you just can't let, difficult times outweigh what could be great, because people will always give you advice when there's difficult times. But for when they're great, ain't nobody ever around. So just remember that. Nobody's really ever around.
As a married couple, the less the people who were around when you weren't doing as well are around. Like I said, being married and coming together and having your own family means that you've made a decision to carry the race forward. You know what I mean? And in that, because we're in such a culture where our people are still striving to figure out who they are, you can't fault them for that. You just got to stand true to what you say that you're about and then live that. And the more you live that, the more you'll see other people coming to support that, because they see that you're not trying to be like what their version of Islam is, or what their version of marriage is, or what their version of unification amongst a so-called black man, black woman is because all of these constructs were not there when you initially met this individual. And when you decided, okay, like when I decided, okay, this female, this woman I'm meeting now, I may never meet a female like this with this type of stat, for lack of a better word, in anybody else. And so now I'm weighing my future. Like, but to do that, I have to commit to this person. And I don't know, based on me, where I'm at, what I don't have, what I have, I don't know if I'm ready. However, I know I'm not ready to lose this. So let me get it together. And that's what, again, a good woman can do to a man. Like, she will make you realize, okay, I got to get this together because I want this person to have the very best of whatever that is that I can provide. And so you start to mold your life to do that, to show this person.
Sweet. That's so nice.
To show this person that that's what you want to do.
And vice versa.
You know, and hopefully you're successful, you know what I mean? And if not,
hopefully
you know what I mean?
He doesn't drown you.
Right.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
I
hopefully
think you do need to have some levity in it, though.
You
and
know,
that's what I mean by, transparency. He likes information. So as much as I would try, he doesn't like for anything to be hidden. So you better be honest because he's going to sense your lies. He's going to smell. So all of that, it saves a lot. Right. It saves a lot of time because I'm like, great. He wants to know what's really going on. I'm going to let him know what's
but
really.
Then, a man don't ask a question he don't want to know the answer to, too. So then it's that. So, it's learning,
And having fun.
Yeah, and having fun, man. I'm sorry, man. We got a flash. It's getting a little late.
It's almost 11 o'clock. We've been doing this for almost 2 hours.
Early in the morning.
What I was saying is, as well as that same thing. I just listened to a couple that has 3 sons. Just listening to different people's advice and like learning about different couples because we do keep so much private. I think it's really great to have moments like this where we can applaud each other and also just realize how much we have in common, whether you're together for 3 years or 15 years or 25 years.
You Moorish American, as a couple,
is the
what it's like.
of just saying, this is what we're experiencing. And I think that it's just really courageous to be able to, take the curtain up a little bit and say, hey, this is what we experience.
We exist. Like we're all here.
It's great.
All together, all of us on this call right now together. We used to add up the time that we were together. That was like almost like 500 years. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we used to just add it. Be crazy. So there's a lot of wisdom in that. We just want to say peace. I'm sorry, Mo.
Islam, no.
Islam, yeah, and it's just a blessing to have you on here, and there's no telling the impact that we can have on other people just by sharing our experience. And it's not like any of us are out here just floating around in la la land where we just in some pristine place where it's all clean and everybody's married and living perfect. Like we all living in this
We're working on it.
We all out here,
We all works in progress.
Yeah, and we just sharing our experience. And like our parents, broken homes, we all having these experiences, maybe not even having people that we could ask for advice or that, that are married and trying to, keep it together. So we just had to make it happen, and that's really where it's coming from and just sharing with people. I just wanted to say one thing, just do want to promote the Prophet's lessons and teachings. I don't know if this was mentioned, but just want to share on there for people who are interested or, wondering, for guidance, for marriage, in addition to, the wisdom that was shared here from life experiences, there are lessons. If you get the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, go to chapters 20, 21, 22, even 23 through 24. They give the divine roles that we all have, men, women, and children. And before our internet went crazy, computer shut down, everything was crazy. This never happens, but
of course
it happened.
Of course,
everybody Everybody on here was speaking on the divine roles that we have and knowing each other's roles. And so when you do that, when you see that in the Quran, these are divine instructions. Now we know the roles that we're supposed to play, and that is not just whatever they telling us, you know, in the pale skinned nations of Rome. So this is allowing us to set our households in order and allowing us to be better versions of ourselves, because ultimately we're all working and striving to bring out Allah within us. And just wanted to share that. And please, anyone that wanted to share any last words, I know it's getting late, so if anyone has any words, any wisdom you want to share, please feel free to speak.
Yeah, just love and light to everybody, man. Again, it's always empowering to see other Moorish couples living that lifestyle. For me, it's just confirmation that, you know what I'm saying, the Prophet got me on the right track. And I see reflections in other couples, and, you know, it's just encouraging. It really is, man, to know that, you know, even though it feels lonely, you're not alone. So again, man, salute many, many more years to you, brothers and sisters, man. I love you all. And let's just, you know, let's keep building this empire. And we keep building the empire by showing and proving that, you know what I'm saying, Moorish Americans we can love, which is our first principle. So, you know, Islam, man, let's keep doing it. Let's keep loving
Islam.
I just gotta second that. Like, it's beautiful to be on here and see other brothers and sisters that, you know, like that, man. We're in an area where we don't really see many Moors. I'm one of the few Moors that I see on the West Coast on a regular basis. Like, people see me in my feds and they come up to us and they're like, "Oh man, you a Moor? Yeah, peace." I'm just like, "Yeah, man, cool." Like, you know, we connect or something. But I rarely ever see other Moorish families. I rarely ever get to talk to other Moorish families, and like just being able to be in this is alhamdulillah, like, praise God for real. So appreciate y'all, man. Thank you guys.
The same to your family. The same to y'all.
Gratitude. Didn't you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, but I didn't want to drag nobody. So like the sister said, it's getting late, but just a word to any couples that's out there, like, being happy is your own responsibility. You cannot look for your partner to make you happy. Happiness comes from inside of you, and you know that's a choice that we have to make every day to be happy with ourselves and, you know, who we're with. And, you know, it was so much knowledge and jewels dropped by all the couples tonight. And you know, one of the things that stuck out to me is what Brother Akil said with the astrology, you know, like with the natal charts and stuff. We have to learn ourselves and learn our partners, because we can't expect something from somebody that's not in them, Islam. So it's like you have to, you know, accept them for who they are, and you have to roll with that and work on each other's strengths and not focus on the weaknesses. Islam.
Very much Islam.
Facts.
I know we about to end, but for anybody that's watching this replay, don't overthink this. Like, being a Moor we're still us. Our favorite thing is to people watch. Like, we still regular parents and grandparents. Like, we still regular people. But the biggest thing that Allah brought to us was the understanding of our own salvation, meaning that we're not that. And it made so much more sense. I can't even imagine being in 2025 and not having my nationality as my armor. Like, that to me is insane. So for any couple that's watching this, that's new to the paradigm, new to the knowledge, and new to in a relationship, is that just be you. Bring your best version of yourself. Don't try to bring an imposter version and all of that as far as marriage. Like, you know, Celina said, like, show who you are. Be transparent if that's what you are, because it'll make your life that much easier. Marriage it's an evolving, living organism. We 33 decades in this, and we still don't know everything, because we've never been this next level that's coming to us before. So it's always a new paradigm. But when you have a foundation of knowing that you're not that, Black, Negro, colored, all of those things, it makes this journey a little bit sweeter. It makes it a little bit easier, because we can go back to the Prophet and go, well, the Prophet said, and the Prophet said, don't throw away your Bibles. You can go to the Bible and say, when a husband finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And that's the important. He has a helpmate. You know, the world is beating them on the back, and here he comes and we're able to love on them. The world is beating us as women on our back of like society, we should be this size, we should look like this, we should do this. And then our husbands are like, oh no, babe, don't worry about that. You're fine in my eyes, and that's all that matters. And so for any couple that's looking at this for years and years to come, this is just an extension of who you are. Like we all 6 different couples, and we're just bringing our individual selves, but our principles are true. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it doesn't alter and it never changes because it's art. So I yield the floor with that. Love and light to you all.
Islam, and gratitude to you all. Thank you for saying that. It's so important because the world is telling us so many things. It's pushing so many agendas. And so, just come back to these divine instructions. One thing I wanted to share in closing, go to moorishmarriage.com. Just made this website, so it's under construction, but just go there and share your email, because we really want to morph this into more than just a conversation, the podcast. We want to take this offline. We want to build something that's sincere, not some money grab, not some scam, some scheme. We want to build something that's solid for the community so that we can have these real people who are married. They can share advice so that people that were like us, maybe when we were starting out, that didn't have family, didn't have friends, didn't have anyone that we could even get good advice from, might even have got bad advice from our own people, right? Our own parents. So we want to build something for real, for us. No jokes, man. That's solid, because it's all about building the family. That's what all of this whole nation. There ain't no long live the nation. There's none of that if we aren't married, raising our children Moorish American, especially in this day and time. There's so many other agendas at play. We have to have that solid foundation. So it all starts with the household. And did Brother Aseer, Celina, did you guys have anything you wanted to say before we close out?
Just thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for having us on. It's really a blessing. Thank you so much.
Honors to everybody that tuned in. We'll see it in the future. Everybody else on the panel tonight, definitely thanks and honors, because again, we're all reflections of each other. And if they don't see it, they're gonna act like it don't exist. And they Moors look very one-dimensional, very based on what one individual has done or is going to do. And all of that has to be done away with. And the only way that can happen is if we have our own communities, our own schools, our own things, not to exclude anybody else from any other community, but to have something the same way, bless you, the same way that the Amish do, the same way that the Hindus or anybody else that has their own ecclesiastical style or theocratic style government and communities that actually foster and actually help the communities move forward, because there are conscientious men and women who have the goal of the people, you see what I'm saying, which is the tribe, which is the nation, which is the empire. They have that in their forefront. So long as we can support that type of movement, you know what I mean, I'm with it. So thank you guys again for having us on, man. We really appreciate it.
All right. Gratitude to everybody for coming here. Peace and love, Moors. Make sure you go to moorishamericans.com. Not more, moorishmarriage.com to share your email. And on that note, did you have something to say? No? We good? Okay. Peace and love.
Empire.
Long live it.
Don't live it.
Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Honors everybody.